There were battles doing these shows that were not only relevant but topical. I mean, Murphy Brown gets on the cover of Time magazine for having a baby out of wedlock on television. We satirized the presidential campaign, you know, Clinton against Bush. Mm-hmm. We were like, I don't know. I've never been so demonished. I mean, I was admonished. You can't do this, you can't do that. You know, it was clever. It was on the level of anything Saturday Night Live would have done, or in Living Color, which was so popular at the time. It was so funny. But we were like, you can't do this. And I said, when the students on a campus are quiet politically, the nation is dead. If we don't have an opinion, if they don't have a voice and something they have to say, they're dead. So I fought for it because I came out of Howard University. We were the first school to take over the university. We were before Kent State. But they didn't send the National Guard into us. Our parents were out there with boiled eggs and orange juice begging us to come out. We never thought for a minute that you could die for speaking up in this country. But people at Kent State died. And I am now the head person in charge. I know that. We're going to do something that's going to have an impact. And this was funny. It was funny. It's funny stuff. All the candidates now became female, and all the wives were now men, meaning it was Jill Blinton that was running. And her husband was, you know, we were satirizing all those relationships. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. This was a great platform. Yeah. You know, you have to have a platform from which you spring. You know, I learned that early on. If you don't have a platform, then you might as well keep your mouth shut. You got to have some way to get in that can ease it. It's like a doctor. You know, put on the glove, put a little jelly on her, just don't go, you know, do something. Humor was a great key, and we used it so well. But time after time after time, we just were scolded for it and I was brought into the principal's office. I remember when we were doing the episode about politics, Warren Littlefield called me on the phone. I was in the bathtub. And he said, the gloves are coming off, Debbie Allen. I hear you're having press conferences and just shitting all over NBC. I'm like, Warren, what are you talking about? I'm in my house. I haven't talked to any journalist. I don't even know what you're talking about. Somebody had said something to him that infuriated him. And I said, Warren, we're trying to do a good show. We're trying to do a good job. He and I came up at the same time together. We had the same sensibilities. And then politics got involved and people, and I don't know. It became more difficult to do what we did. And by the time A Different World went off the air, we went off so unceremoniously, so quiet into the night. They kept changing our times. Nobody knew when we were on, and then we just disappeared. But we're back on now. I mean, they can't play it enough. One of the greatest shows we ever did was, I think, our season opener for the last season. It addressed the LA riots. And we sent Wayne and Whitley, who had gotten married now, on their honeymoon, and they were stuck in LA in the middle of the riots. And I'm telling you, it was hilarious. I mean, I did some very irreverent things. I had this woman coming out of a store, you know, because everybody was stealing, you know, all that stuff was happening. We had one, the woman came out of the store with, I think, a case of alcohol or something, and she said, I had her say, free at last, thank God Almighty it's free at last. And it was like just showing how people had lost their minds, had lost their mind. Yeah. Then we had Roseanne and Tom as looters as well. You know, I said, come on, what is this? We only have black looters? White people were looting too. So they were okay with it. They were mad about it until it became Tom and Roseanne. And they came over and they had a good time with us. So that was a very controversial episode. Very controversial. Well, the whole thing came about because we were on the set, and it was my birthday, the day that the Persian Gulf War broke out. And I stopped rehearsal. We had to stop because we had young people who could be called in. We had young people who had families that were now going to be affected. So it was important to address the Persian Gulf. You know, should we be there? Do we go over there? You know, this is the conversation that we're having right now. That episode could come on tomorrow and it will be relevant to what is happening in the Middle East today. Do we go to Libya? Do we help the people? Do we let them just, you know, deal with the genocide of a mad, you know, despot or ruler that's been there generationally, you know, for 10 generations? When does America speak up? When do we stand up? That's what it was about.